Well, this series of videos is surely not holding up to its name. Welcome, folks, to week 1 decks this time around. Yes, week 1. It's been a busy week. I haven't had quite some time over this last week with, BSFO things happening. But we are going to take a look at the set 19, is it? I think it's 19. Yes, 19 it is. Early deck lists. So, in terms of my own builds and what I've been playing a lot of metalborgs. I've been playing a lot of Bluish Flames. I've built Revengers, I've built Battle Sisters, and I plan to play them, and I feel like those lists are pretty okay. DI and Pale Moon, not so much. Those two are, like Pale Moon especially I don't plan to play, even though I kind of own most things. But for DI, I'll see on my time availabilities at the end of the month, which, looking at the way it's been so far, I'm not expecting too much from. But, I'll emphasize the other decks first. But we're going to take a look at two different metalborg lists, because one is like the Daikaiser build and one is the pure metalborg build. I do think the Daikaiser build, as much as it pains me to say this, is a bit too slow right now for the game, because, you just have to wait for so long before you get given Legion over the break ride, right? Whereas the pure build is much faster, can actually finish games pretty consistently, can also play kind of control-y, which is very nice, so I do like that about the deck a lot. So getting into it, first is the Daikaiser variant of metalborg. So this is the build that I've kind of been testing with. Might be the one that I deck and fight with. I'm not sure. Honestly, there's still a lot of things I want to change about this. But basically, the idea of the deck is to combine the Daikaiser package with Kaisard and Kaiser Greater together to like jump up to Daikaiser quickly, so you have more chances to drive check triggers, which fills up your drop zone for Legion. And then you also get to draw cards, like use Die Brave to take itself out of the soul to basically like, have another card in drop zone while also drawing extra cards. And then the rest of the metalborg package kind of works to finish things off. So yeah, like in terms of heals, Sinbuster could honestly be the heal, because this thing is kind of better for Daikaiser. Like Dryon actually is a bit better because you get Daikaiser's effect and an extra crit, so this works from your opponent being at 3 damage, whereas the combo with Sinbuster asks for like 2 PGs and a grade 3 from hand, which is nice. You basically force out 3 cards from hand for them to actually guard if you drive like a grade 3 on the attack. But this build, honestly, it feels a bit too slow. It's very clunky. It's hard to set up your drop zone. It's just, man, it's in Zero, it's hard to kind of reimagine this deck, which is quite unfortunate. However, the pure metalborg build feels really, really good for several reasons, right? Of course, Sinbuster gives you draws. On top of it's like, guard restrict. Dryon is an amazing card to go into as your first grade 3 because he gets an extra crit really easily, and on hit retires rear guard, so it lets you play a bit of control. Urbuster gives you the skill when you Legion to also retire extra rear guards. You have this thing which is insane. On place, if Vanguard is a metalborg, count +1 to give your Vanguard the skill that when its attack hits, draw a card, and if you're in Legion state, you countercharge 1. So the reason why I like Laurel in this is because you can use the skill twice, but even on turn 1 and turn 2, like, you basically give this to your Vanguard to just count +1, draw 1. That's really, really good. It helps us to keep those pieces going and like, that rotation going. So of course, also the Mist Ghost helps us power up, hit those power thresholds, especially in over the 30k. A couple Laurels, I like the Laurels just because they let you abuse some of these on-hit effects. Basically you get to like draw 2 instead of 1. You get to retire 2 instead of 1. So things like that. And the fact is that even if your opponent checks like 2 defensives, and they go to like 31, your 30k plus power gets over it, which is pretty insane. So that's why Restanding the Vanguard isn't too bad in this deck, because the attack power of it is insanely high. This card is also super MVP. The Valen Greater, it's really, really good. You can also on Soul Boss 1 to search your deck for a card that Legions and then like write it and give it 3k. But on top of that, on Rear Circle, it's a not once per turn. If your Vanguard is a metalborg, Soul Boss 1 to give him 2k. So what you can do is call him, empty out your soul just to give him power, and then Legion all that soul back. That is really, really good. So this deck honestly feels really good. I've been climbing with it quite a lot and really enjoying my time with it. So for better or worse, this is the better build. Unfortunately, you can still go into Daikaiser sometimes. I run it as a one-of, and I do win sometimes from like sitting on Daikaiser, especially like depending on how the game paces out. So yeah, it's a pretty good build. Then I kind of want to take a look at golds first, but I play on my phone mostly and not on BlueStack, so it changed the ordering. So I play on my iPad, I guess, not my phone, but it's the same, iOS. So Bluish Flames are really good in my opinion. The builds are quite different though, because some people like to play more Garmor because it counters a lot of the meta, which I do agree on, but I like Prominence Core because it lets you stack up crits when you call a rearguard with the same name as one of your Vanguards basically, and then push your opponent to 5, and then you can finish the game with Zenith. Like most of the games I play with this deck, I push my opponent to 5, then ride Zenith and multi-attack. So of course also this deck, Percival's great, it's a free +1, that's honestly amazing, but the blaster engine is still really good, right? This is a retire, this is a countercharge, this is a selective plus, you know, selective plus is nice. This helps you feel, you know, like empty out your soul when you call it from something. And then of course the best card of the deck is by far Agloveil. Agloveil is insane. Like, turn 2, you just call it, counterblast 1, look at top 3, call another thing. Like, if your opponent rushes you, you rush them back. It's just such an insane card. It was just as insane in the TCG as it is now. Like, that early rush and early sustain that it gives you is even better in Zero, I would say, than it was in the TCG, which is pretty cool to think about. The starter is still the Wingle, though, because I think nothing really is better than this. There is the early, like, discard to draw one, which I guess is fine, but this one is just... it's tutoring for an intercept killer and a countercharge enabler and a superior call enabler. So in my opinion, it's staying as a starter for now until maybe we get the Bluish Flame one in the next set. Following that, we get back up here. I think we have Shadows with the update to Revengers. Revengers stayed very much the same, except now like you can actually use Swordbreaker more often, so I might actually like bump it to 3. I like the one of Tech Trumpeter because you can search out your grade 1s pretty easily. This, for example, says when you Legion, search your deck for a grade 1 or less Revenger and call it, you know, without any cost, which is nice. Still run Tartus. I think they're pretty good. I've seen people run Nemains, I've seen people run Manas, and I think all of them are quite valid, so it's worth testing. I really haven't played too many games with this deck yet, so I'm yet to find out what's good, what's not. Mordred is still very key in keeping your resources alive. Of course, we have the new Abyss Phantom Blaster Dragon. You know, it's really good. It's a Legion, counterblast 1 on the turn that you Legioned at the end of the battle to retire 3 Revenger Rearguards to stand him and draw 2. So it's really good. It's a restander. Only works the turn you Legion, so you do have to re-ride to kind of pace your game out with that in mind, but it's really nice. The other Legion is fine as a heal. You can almost want to retire one of your own to give it a crit, which is nice because this can actually retire your Swordbreakers, so you're not like overcalling them in the future. So that's kind of why I'm debating maybe pushing this to 3. I'll see. Like, the ratios definitely need to be explored. This is fine as a 3 of though, because it only pops grade 1 rearguards, so it's good against golds to pop their counterchargers, good against the mirror match to pop Doran and stuff like that, but against some decks it just doesn't really do as much. So yeah, but otherwise we still run the BDRs for the same reason as we run BBLs. It's the pop, and then you're one of grade 3. I guess Drag Ruler is fine. It doesn't hurt to go into it. Otherwise, I don't know. I've seen people test out different things, but for now I think Drag Ruler is okay as a one of. But let me know your kind of other techs in the comments, because I haven't really explored too much with this deck yet. Alright, moving forward, here are the Battle Sisters. So this build, of course, we don't really care about self-damagers as much, but I still like to play them for the time being. Just because I do find myself, like, not minding if I ride into one of the other Battle Sister grade 3s from the past, but I think that this build definitely needs work. Maybe I want to push this to 4, which means I need to exchange for one of them. And the countercharger is really MVP right now. The Soul Blast 2 to countercharge 2 is really good, because the Legion says counterblast 3 to draw 1 for each Battle Sister in your middle column. So you draw 3 optimally because you have your 2 for Legion and then your 1 rearguard behind the Legion. So counterblast 3 draw 3 is fine when you have that much countercharging. I don't know if I want to run 4 of this though, because then you really like have pretty poor columns and like rely a lot on like power buffing, which you don't really have outside of the 12k attacker, which we're running as a 3 of. Tom is still a good win con, and you know, of course, the Pudding is nice. She's a countercharger, so it helps to add to that so we don't over rely on the grade 1 too much, and she also powers up the other units on the board, so that's pretty good. I think the deck is the same as it used to be, except like took out Cookie because she was my main like pre-limit break ride, and now the Legion is like better in most cases, and basically just run a lot of stands. Like, your whole gimmick is draw a billion cards and rely on stands to multi-attack and then finish the game with Tom. Like, that hasn't changed, and Fromage is still a super MVP rearguard because of her ability to gain 5k on, you know, when you have enough Battle Sisters on the field. Alright, now moving forward to the 2 decks that I really haven't tested, and it's a question mark if how much I will. This one I think was support. I can't remember who it was in the Discord that helped me out with this one. Like I said, I haven't tested it, but it was thanks to the folks on the Discord that really helped me with this list. So this is of course Astaroth based, you know, the Ammon Legion that basically gains a crit for every 10 cards in your soul. So you turbo soul charge. He also says when an opponent's rearguard is retired by your opponent's effect, if you have another Ammon in the middle column, you soul charge 3. So you can really turbo soul charge by using the original Ammon's effect to just pop, and then you basically get that extra crit. And then if you need to like soul blast out your Legion mates, which you do in this deck, you know, to re-Legion sometimes to keep your deck afloat, this is an interesting card, the Sarael. You soul blast 2 to release Restraint, and then when it's boosted on Vanguard Circle gains 5k. So that part doesn't matter, but it's an 11k base on Rearguard Circle that soul blasts 2 to release Restraint, which you're pretty happy to do, especially if you can keep legioning and legioning, and you have some like fake cards that are made for the deck that keep it afloat. Of course, Chariot is a big one to keep your deck, you know, from decking out. You run the other Legion once just to kind of like pop opponents' rear guards, and then, you know, the Legion made here doesn't really do much. It just gains power when you soul charge if you're in Legion state, which is nice, you know, for big power columns, but it doesn't really matter when your opponent has intercepts, right? Dimension Creepers are super important. The Ammon package is really important for this as well. Original Yellow Bolt to round it off, and like it's mostly just like a Ammon list, but it's just the Ammon Legion gets all that extra crit. But it doesn't seem like this deck has been performing too hot. You know, it doesn't feel like the second coming of Ragey that a lot of people expected, and instead, you know, it's kind of difficult to, you know, kind of like push this to that level. But it's a pretty cool deck. I'll mess around with it once I get the time, because I'm you know, for now I'm definitely playing with other decks that are interesting me a bit more. But I'll be giving this a try maybe at some point later on. And then finally, this one is by Mellow I'm at. I don't really know anything about how to build this Legion in Zero because they nerfed it so hard. So when you Legion, count +3 to call 3 cards from the soul, and she gains +3 every time a card is placed from the soul. Yeah, it doesn't soul charge anymore. It used to count +2, now count +3. It just feels nerfed for no reason. So I guess you make a break ride combo out of it to multi-attack and gain power, and then you play, you know, basically the fortresses to, you know, get power in the opponent's turn, which is pretty cool. And this gains power when you call stuff, you know, on your rear guard circles. So I guess that's also cool. Like, it's just a lot of different cards that, you know, it's like a good stuff Pale Moon, but you only play this because it has Legion. It's the only card ever printed in Pale Moon that has Legion. So yeah, no comment. I don't know. I feel like this deck is generally just hard to salvage. I might give it a try if I exchange for like Dreamy Fortresses or something from the half anniversary exchange, but I don't know, man. I don't know. This feels very shaky. Feels shaky. Maybe has a bit of potential as like a tanky deck, but I don't know how it, like, it's just a lot of questions, honestly. A lot of questions. Haven't tested this at all, and even the people that, you know, talk about this deck don't want to test it. So, yeah, that's the state of Pale Moon right now. The actual state of Pale Moon, you want to know the actual state of Pale Moon? Just keep playing Silver Thorns. The nerfs didn't really hurt the deck much. It's still very much alive. So just play Silver Thorns, bro. It's great. Anyway, that's it. Those are the day one decks. My personal preference list, I would say, is like pure metalborgs, then Bluish Flames, then Revengers, then Daikaiser. Sadly just doesn't feel good in Zero. Like, it doesn't feel anywhere near as good as it did in the TCG. And then I guess Battle Sisters, and then I would put like Ammon and then Pale Moon, because Pale Moon just went downhill. Gotta wait for Harry now in G, so kind of a long wait. Hello, editing DF here. I realized I didn't show the Witches build, which I haven't tested at all. I don't think I've played against it at all. So here is a very uneducated guess at what a day one Witches build looks like. The idea is that you play a lot of Witches. Very cool. I think the starter's pretty good. The grade 1 basically lets you, you know, panyarara your opponent's stuff. You know, you count +2, and then your opponent has to revive a grade 3 from their drop zone randomly on an occupied rearguard circle, and it becomes a 5k with, you know, etc, etc. I think those effects are like whatever. You know, I think the best effects are things like this, which are the on hits that make the opponent call from the top deck, because that means that they lose triggers. So I think effects like this are really good. They lose triggers. This is a witch, which is nice. And then she's, of course, the best. Count +3, pop one of your own witch rearguards. Look at top 10, your opponent calls 2, basically triggers from their deck, you know, just on the field like that. And this one does that just once with top 5. So it's a pretty good effect. I think these effects are pretty nice. I've heard some people say this deck actually feels pretty legit. Also have this that potentially generates you countercharge, which is nice, or just units on the board. So yeah, this is Witches. I don't know much about it, but I realized it was missing, so there you go. But yeah, that's it for this day one decks video, or rather week one decks, I guess. I'll see you guys again next month, hopefully a bit sooner for the next set. I expect it to have like predictions and stuff, and of course for some of the decks I don't plan on doing deck and fights for, or that I might take too long doing deck and fights for, please use this video to give yourself reference decks to kind of start your journey with. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.